So, every day, all day.
This is how we roll.
This is 97.9, the BOX.
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing pretty wonderful. I would say it's kind of crazy weather in the city. So I see you're safe. I'm safe. I hope everybody that is watching is somewhere safe and dry. So
Same.
flash flooding. So gratefully, this is not the phone that gets all the alerts. It's the other one. So the interruption should be minimal here. With all the stay at home, turn around, don't drown, look out for the puddles, you know, that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you are here for the business behind the music. I'm Terri Thomas. I'm the operations manager and program director for Radio 1 here in Houston. So that means that I have 97.9 The Box, Magic 102.1. I've got Praise Houston, our online inspiration station, and also our pretty awesome Top 40 Radio Now 92.1 if you haven't had a chance to check it out. And this series is called The Business Behind the Music. And pretty much the purpose of this is to give people some insight into the actual business behind the music, whether you're an aspiring artist or influencer and you're trying to learn more about your path and possibilities that way, or if you're somebody who's just really interested in the business, maybe not on an artist perspective or somebody who wants to be in front of the camera, but there's like a zillion careers that are sort of behind the scenes that could be very lucrative and fulfilling as well. So super excited to have my friend and guest, LaTorria Lemon, today. She is the CEO of Lemon Limelight Media. She is she handles publicity, so she's a publicist and public relations. She also handles event coordination, and resume is long. I'll let you dive into that a little bit if you feel comfortable. But one of my favorite things about LaTorria is self-made woman. So, you know, started this business from the ground up, and through her hard work and diligence and networking, and we'll dive into that a little bit as well, you know, she's really been able to grow her business and grow her brand. So we welcome LaTorria.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here. Let me just start by saying I've listened to 97.9 all my life, and y'all know y'all have a special place in my heart. So this is such an honor.
Awesome. Thank you. I want you to dive in. So how did you get started? Share your path with people in terms of getting into this career and starting a business.
Absolutely. So I got into PR by an accident, right? My goal and my aspirations growing up was to be a radio personality. And so when I was like 16 years old, I had an internship with KCOH Radio here in Houston. And before I knew it, I was on air and I was producing and I was just really doing everything. I was running the board at like 16 or 17 years old. And so then I migrated to Clark, Atlanta, where I studied radio. And then I applied for an internship with allhiphop.com. It was literally going to be my dream internship. And I did not receive it. The publicist for allhiphop.com called me like 2 days later. Like, listen, I think you should do PR. And I didn't know what a PRR was, but I listened, and from there, I was able just to kind of build my knowledge on PR. And then my college professors found out that I was doing some work with Essence Magazine, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna change your major to PR. Like you're not gonna do radio anymore." And I was like, "Oh."
So what inspired you to start your own business? Because I mean, PR can be challenging. So what inspired you to start your own business?
You know what? Everything that has been done, I mean, I know it's divine order by God, but it's been accidental for me. I was working with a PR agency in Atlanta, and I was really doing a lot of freelance. But of course, if you all know anything about PR, even if you're doing freelance, it's still full-time work. You know what I mean? And you're getting paid freelance work. But I had a couple of people to come up to me and they were like, "We want you to be our publicist." And I was like, "Oh no, you have to go to the company that I work for and, you know, request me and blah, 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 blah." And one lady literally called me and she was like, "I don't think you get it. Like, we're requesting you for a reason. Like, we see who's handling a lot of these major accounts. We see who's the, you know, the brains behind a lot of these campaigns. And so I think you need to look at venturing into your own." And at that time, I had just graduated college. I was only 2 months out of college. I had no idea how to start a business, but I ended up doing it in August of 2011. And here I am.
Oh man, it's awesome. So, you're not a person that generally brags about your clients, and so I'll say,
Right.
speak on it if you feel comfortable. But I think it would be relevant to share some of the clients that you've worked with, because I think it helps to bring some perspective as to, yeah, you really know what you're talking about. You've been able to land some pretty major accounts.
Definitely. So, like you said, that's one of the questions that I normally like, oh my God, I don't want to miss anybody, but I'll start with home first. So, Slim Thug, Paul Wall, Lil Kiki, we worked with Just Brittany for quite some time, helped her land some of the TV opportunities that you've probably seen her on. Lord Jesus, a lot of people, DJ Chose.
Yeah.
And then on a national level, we worked with brands like Ashley Stewart, which is a plus size clothing store. They have like 91 stores across the country. We help build their diversity program throughout the entire nation. We've done tours like Leela James and Tank. Goodness. Most recently, we handled the PR for the George Floyd memorial services all throughout the country. So that was four services, and I'm very, very proud of just how the city came together for that, and even the nation, the country. I mean, that was an international situation, and Houston really showed that we're Houston strong. And of course, we're keeping his family in our prayers. But aside from that, Lisa Ray, and I had the opportunity to work on campaigns with the late great John Singleton, which was a complete honor. And really, the list goes kind of on and on
It does.
and on.
It goes on and on. So I think people misunderstand publicity and PR. So I really want to start there and really take it down to the brass tacks of what exactly do you do? Because I think a lot of people really misunderstand what that really is. So you really are the wind beneath the wings, and you are really behind the scenes moving and manipulating. But let's talk about that specifically. What exactly publicity PR? What do you do?
Absolutely. So it's really the brains behind a lot of the visibility that you see with people. My job is to be strategic. So I'll give you an example. What was that? In early April, obviously the entire world knew that Slim, had COVID-19. Well, it's one thing for me to pitch that my client has COVID-19, but it's another thing for me to strategically make a story out of it. So the story that we were able to get into, like USA Today and Time Magazine and just a lot of other, places, was bringing the awareness for healthcare in the hip hop community. Slim hadn't always had health insurance. If anybody knows anything about the hip hop community, we're not covered. We're not like SAG actresses and actors where their teams can have health insurance. We have to go the independent route. So being that he had recently gotten health insurance, it literally was something that helped throughout that process. So we were able to bring more awareness on how the hip hop community is kind of unseen in that element. So even like a Bootsy, what was that, 3 years ago? 3 years ago, Bootsy was diagnosed with cancer and had to come out of $90,000 because he didn't have health insurance. So my job is to really implement those strategies. It's one thing to promote your album or whatever's coming out, but it's another thing to have a message behind it. Everybody and their mama in the city got an album coming out. Like me and you could have an album coming out next week, Terry,
Album on the way.
Mixtape coming soon, TT and LL, that's what we got. But it's a whole nother thing to make sure that there's some substance surrounding it, especially in a sensitive time like now, where, people are trying to fight for their lives. Nobody's worried about downloading something off of iTunes. You know what I mean? So again, that strategic publicity, strategic brand awareness, and visibility, that's primarily like what we do. We're not just throwing our clients out there and saying, hey, pick our clients. We're literally saying, here's the message behind it, and here's how your audience can benefit from that message.
You know what, I do want to speak a little bit from my perspective, because I tend to be on the receiving end of that type of communication, right? So I get hammered all the time with people looking to get access to any one of the brands that I have. And so oftentimes it is about the pitch. making a pitch that's going to make sense. A lot of times as an artist, you're just thinking, I'm hot. I'm hot, I'm hot, I'm hot. I got a hot record. I'm hot, I'm hot, I'm hot, I'm hot. Well, there's a gazillion people. But I was on a Zoom yesterday about the industry, and I think the figure that came out was 35 new songs drop every week. 35,000, sorry. 35,000 new singles drop every week. 35,000. And those are the ones that we've been able to count. I mean, there's probably some miscellaneous out there that just hadn't been included. So think about the figure of that. 35,000 new songs drop every week. So how are you going to cut through as an artist? How are you going to cut through as an influencer? What is your brand story going to be? And one of the things that we've talked about a lot here is the why of a thing. How important is it for you to understand the why behind your client, why they're doing what they're doing?
You know what? I think not only is that a great question, but I think that people have to understand that what I do takes trust, right? When I come to you, Terri, or come to anybody at any of your stations, it takes trust in knowing that I'm not about to put a hot mess on your station.
Right.
Same thing with my clients. So the why, I have to know, what is your goal? Like, I talk to people on a daily basis that is like, I need a publicist. Well, first off, let's identify what your goals are, your short-term goals, your long-term goals. And if it's just that I want radio play, for one, that's not even my job, and I get that too often. I want my song on the radio.
Not your area.
That's not what I do. But I think really identifying your purpose and your goals, and that will allow me to understand if we're even a good match. There's a lot of times where I'm like, you know what, I respect your artistry, I respect your work, but I don't think we're a good match. We don't have that chemistry, and that's something that you have to fine tune. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, letting somebody know, listen, you have the hottest song in the city, but you're not humble. Let's be clear, you're not humble. And for me, I can't work with people that's not humble. Because at the end of the day, this is a partnership, and you have to carry your weight and I have to carry mine. And so if you can't even identify what goals you set in place, other than just putting a song on the radio, we're not gonna get too far. Do you have a mission? Is there any philanthropy you like to do? Do you even like your community? And that's something that, I meet so many people, and they're just so focused on getting that hot song out to where they've bypassed the community that they not only could be serving, but that could be supporting them. I watched something that you said maybe months ago, and you were like, why would we put your record on if the street's not even talking about it? You didn't even do your legwork. You didn't even go, and get some buzz yourself. Like, you have to be strategic. That has to be your why, your purpose. Every morning when you get up, you need to understand, okay, how can I make this strategic? Before I even get a publicist, before I even email Terri or email anybody at Box, how can I make this make sense? Because trust me, as a listener, as a consumer, you can listen to an artist and tell, okay, this was one hit, and we're probably not going to see you again after this.
Yeah, that's really valid. I love that you keep using one of my all-time favorite words, and that's strategic. And one of the main things that I'm going to continue to do this, one of the main reasons, is because I really want to hammer home that as an artist or an influencer, you are the CEO of your business. You're the CEO.
Right.
And oftentimes, as an artist or influencer is trying to grow, I'm looking for other people to be the answer of that. Now, it is true that you need a team, but you're at the top of the team. So if you don't know where you're headed, what the goal is, where you want to be, it's very difficult for the team to work in lockstep. So, there's a couple levels to that. I continue to recommend this book. I'll continue to do it again today. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Very old book, but very smart and sage advice, because it does talk about the fact that, we as people, we don't know everything. You got to know what you don't know, but it's also sort of a team of advisors around you that can advise you in the areas that you don't know. When it comes to hiring your team, you have to know yourself, you have to know your mission, you have to know your purpose, and you have to know what your strengths aren't, so that you can put people in position to further the cause. But if you don't know your why, you don't know where you're headed, what you ultimately want, beyond the immediacy of, I just want to song on the radio, or I just want a part in a movie, or I just want post events or whatever it is, then you're gonna have a much more difficult way to go, because you cannot be strategic if you don't have a clear understanding of the destination.
So true. And stop expecting everybody to take your vision and run with it. You got to run first. Like we should be meeting each other at some point. So often people think, oh, let me get a manager, let me get a publicist, and then I just fall back. No, you should still be at the same pace. Like, of course, we all have a lane that we're going to operate and run, but at the same time, it's not time for you to get lax. We should all be going hard for your vision. It's yours at the end of the day. I could walk away from your vision, but you shouldn't be able to walk away from your vision.
Right. I think that is so true. If you don't believe, what are we doing, right? So let's talk about, you mentioned a couple of the qualities. What are some of the qualities that make a great client?
So great communication. My guys, and when I say my guys, like most of the rappers here, we communicate. Like, hey guys, what do you think of this? Or hey guys, this is what I put you on. And they're like, okay, because they trust me and they trust that she knows and understands me. That goes a long way. So even, just another example, when Nipsey Hussle passed away, a lot of publications were looking for statements from rappers. And a lot of rappers, just to be honest, like, were literally going through it. Like, they were sad, they were upset, there was a lot going on. But because I knew my client so well, when they reached out to me for statements, I know how to sound exactly like my client. I know the words that they would say. I know how they would put a sentence together. And literally, I would send it over to them and say, hey guys, you sent this to XYZ. And they're like, dang, this sounds like something I would say. So having that understanding, being observant is something that's essential in PR. You have to understand that to be a good client, you have to be a good listener. If you're going to hire me and tell me how to do everything that I've been doing for 13 years, you got it. You got it. And I want you to have it, because I'm not going to have it, So knowing and understanding, and also making sure that the team that you have in place, aside from a publicist, is on point. I worked with a artist, well-known artist, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and we were on tour. And I literally went to him and I was like, where's your videographer? And he was like, oh, I don't have no videographer. I was like, literally, we have no way to capture these moments. And you have an entourage of 11 people that we're traveling every city with. 11 people that we're paying for hotels for, that we have to put in a Sprinter, that we have to pay for meals for. Everybody on your team should be valuable and not just look the part. Like, if you're going to carry 11 people, okay, here's my social media person. Here's my photographer. Here's my assistant. Here's the person that's going to make sure when we get to the airport, all the bags are in place. Not 11 dead weight. Like, that's dead. We can leave them on the south side. We don't have to bring all these people to the tour with us. And so in that moment, he realized he was making an investment into people that he was just bringing along with no purpose. Like, you can't have dead weight on your team. And you have to know and understand, checking some of the people that's on your team is also essential. I've worked with a lot of artists and a lot of entertainers that had no idea how sloppy their managers were to the rest of the industry. Literally no idea. So you're looking at managers where they're not responding to emails for 2-3 weeks and they're missing opportunities, or their attitudes are nasty. Or, when you see them, it's not really for the betterment of the artist or the client, it's really for their own self-gain. So those are things that you have to look at. Do evaluations. If you're going to be the CEO of your talent and your brand, you need to make sure you're putting the right people in place. And sometimes it can't be your cousin that you've known all your life, and now he's going to manage your rap career. No, you're going to need some experience. We all can't be the blind leading the blind. Stevie Wonder would never drive Ray Charles around, ever.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's real, though, I would say. And I love that you made the point of everybody that rolls with you needs to have a job. They need to have a purpose. And again, you are the CEO of you. So holding them accountable to a certain level, if you're as great as the people around you, right? They're the wind beneath your wings. If they don't have enough air in the lungs to push you forward, then there's going to be some limits. So it is important. Now, I do believe that people can grow together. One of my favorite examples of that would be Shaka Zulu and Ludacris, who met each other because they worked at our station in Atlanta. And Ludacris was Chris Lova Lova on the air, and Shaka Zulu was the music director at the station. And then they saw something in each other, and they've now together grown an empire. But I will say this. Shaka Zulu was as serious, if not more serious, although I know Luda's pretty intense, than Luda. So it was both people studying and focused on becoming excellent in the area that they were going to manage, and then they could come together and build an empire. So it is possible to grow together, but if you're going to select somebody that's going to grow with you, make sure that they are invested in growing themselves, because otherwise you could get left for it. So there are people on here that are interested in the career of publicity. I would love to talk about that as well. I had somebody that I met very recently who was interested in the career, but very reluctant to go and get the education that would be required, like the credentials is what I say. And I know college is not for everyone. I understand that. But I am a person who strongly believes in getting some credentials underneath you, that you took yourself serious enough in your desire that you have credentials. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about how to get into publicity, and what do you think that would be a good requirements there?
Definitely. So a lot of people don't know this, but my degree, it's in public relations, but the focus was nonprofit. And so I do like this much nonprofit. Everything else was based on internships that I got. I interned my butt off. At one point, I had like 4 internships at one time, but I was hungry for the knowledge. I wanted to make sure that, I understood every element of it. So like I said, I had learned radio like to the T. I learned how to talk. I had air checks. I mean, I had everything you can possibly envision, because that's what I wanted to do. But when I transitioned into PR, my focus then changed, and I even interned at Hot 1079 in the promo department, because I wanted to understand that element. I wanted to understand just all elements. So again, college may not be for everybody, and I get it, but intern. And when you're an intern, make sure you're bringing something to the table as well. A lot of times interns feel like, I'm just coming to soak up everything. Well, you're probably interning for somebody that's busy. Let's be clear. An entity that's busy, but you have to understand that in order for you to gain something, you have to bring something. You can't just take. Like, you have to be an asset. So interning is essential. Having a mentor is very, very essential. I have a lot of mentees that are in PR, and we'll text or we'll call each other, and they'll, we'll bounce ideas off. And then just understanding, like, these people are not your competition. There's plenty of times where I send clients to other publicists in the city or other publicists in the country, because it's just not my niche. But really and truly, when you want to understand something, you need to take the right elements to gain that knowledge. So writing is a huge element of PR. Like, we're constantly writing press releases. We're constantly writing bios, one-sheeters, pitches, being creative. Like, one of my mentees right now, she just took on a client, her first client, and he's an artist, but they're growing together. And so she'll ask me, okay, should I do this, or how should I do this? Like, you have to have some type of insight from somebody that knows and understands. But again, it goes back to bringing something to the table as well. If you want to be the best, aim for the best, but bring something that can show that you're valuable. So again, PR, you have to know how to write. There's many a times I have to think like a journalist. When I'm pitching, I literally have to shift my mindset to, okay, if I'm a journalist, would I want this story? Would I even care about this story? Or would I want to interview this person? Maybe what's the content of it? What's the story of it? What's the wow factor? So having that thought process, and then understanding that I think we live in a society now where people feel like social media is so easy, and if I can do good on social media, then I'm obviously this expert, whatever. Oh, if I did 2 people's hair, now I'm an expert hairstylist because social media pumped my head up. Well, that's not the case for PR. with PR, you have to not only have contacts, you have to have relationships. I always tell people, I can have everybody's email address in this world, but if these people don't know my work or they're not interested in the content that I'm sending them, I may not get a reply, you know? And so building those relationships make a lot of sense. Understanding that as you're looking on social media or as you're thinking of someone, check on somebody. That's a part of building a relationship. Don't just hit them up when you need something or you want something. You know, you have to make sure you're cultivating those relationships and the trust is there.
You really tapped on quite a few gems there. Networking is one that tends to come up a lot here. And I always tell people your network is your net worth, but a lot of people network wrong because you go into a situation looking to meet somebody under the guise of what can you, person wants
Right.
do for me, rather than how can I be of service to you. We build a relationship over time, and then perhaps you'll consider me for an opportunity. The first and most important thing when it comes to networking, if you happen to be in a room with people that you would like to get next to, the first thing that I tell people is don't say anything, please. Listen. People undervalue the art of listening. You know, listening can provide invaluable information before you open your mouth and maybe make an ass out of yourself, right? Because when you listen, you can pay attention and you can pick up things about people. You can pick up about things that matter to them. You can pick up about thought process. I always tell people when you see somebody you'd like to get next to and you're in a room with that person, write their name down in your phone, you got one, right? And then start to pay attention. What are some things about the person that you're observing? Maybe and it could be regular life stuff. You know, I have a dog. I just went to Paris, or whatever the case may be, so that you can have conversation starters that can now help you build a relationship with a person that shows that, you know what, I'm paying attention. I'm interested in you as a human being before I'm interested in what you can give to me. So I do think that people tend to network wrong, and they want to slam you with, well, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? You haven't developed any trust. And you also keep mentioning the word trust. I love that. In terms of the business, how essential is trust in your estimation? How essential is it?
It's super essential. You know, there's relationships that I built when I was 18 years old that have trusted me with accounts like the Oprah Winfrey Network or Tyler Perry or, you know, things of that nature. It's literally now one call away versus if they felt as though I was going to embarrass them or get into a situation where, you know, it's not good for either brands. Trust is so essential. For one, you have to trust yourself. I meet so many people that are like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, or how should I handle this situation? I'm like, okay, I think we all get a little iffy at times, but if you're iffy with your own product or service, like that doesn't make me build trust in you as a person. Like, confidence is something that you must have in a humble way, but you must have it. And so I think, again, when you build that trust with people, somebody just said trust equals respect and winning. That's absolutely right. Like, the trust that you have, it shows that people respect you. It shows that you have built that type of relationship with that person to where they know and understand that you're not going to do anything to jeopardize them or yourself. And again, that's like at the top of the list. I would rather be respected and trusted than anything else. Like, when you break trust with people, a relationship that you've tried to build for 10, 20 years, all it takes is one time where you're disloyal or you break the trust. And again, it goes back to communication. Communication is so essential. You know, there's times where I reach out to you and I'm like, hey, Terri, it's an exclusive. That's communicating. You know, that's letting you know, okay, now I can put my ducks in a row.
Right.
You know what I mean? People have to understand, and even going back to networking, I get people all the time that'll hit me up and say, hey, I want to network with you. That's just not how you start the conversation. Or, hey, I want to pick your brain.
I knew you were going to say that.
That one gets me every time, because for one, how dare you want to pick somebody's brain when this person offers consultations? That's what a pick your brain is, you know. And I just
pick your brain has a price,
right? So I'm gonna just sit here and let you pick away and pick away and pick away, and you haven't even built a relationship with me. Like, you don't even you're not even creating any understanding, and it happens so often that pick my brain, that, oh, let me just holler at you for a second. I'm okay. I'd rather not. I can respect it a lot more when people present themselves in an email format. Hello, I met you at such and such event. Would love to schedule some time and chit chat with you. Here's what I do. Okay. You've laid it out and you've let me know that this is something that you're interested in. And it's something that you may have something that we can even exchange. Like, that's networking.
Right.
Not just one street.
Okay, awesome. We are going to take questions, so if you have questions, please drop them in here. I did see we've got our faithfuls in here, some tried and true to the series, and I love that. So we have the Sienna Sauce and the Sauce Boss in here.
Hey.
Interesting comment about internships, and I do want to touch on it a little bit because I think it's valuable. First and foremost, I would say, as somebody who takes on interns, I have hired because a person has really come in head and shoulders above the rest and being able to stand out. May not have been 5 seconds after the internship ended, but I have gone back and picked up interns that I've worked with prior and brought them back into the fold, and they've been able to be successful. One. Number two is the comment that was dropped in here was about the desire to have a paid internship. Now, I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of history. This was a few years ago. It was a big news story in the industry where major label, it was Bad Boy, to be honest with you, who had interns on the payroll that had sort of outlived their internship, meaning that you're not meant to be an intern at one company for 10 years, right? An internship in its purest form is something that you get when you're in college. You get a college credit for it. You go and you work somewhere for the opportunity to gain experience, and what you gain out of it is college credit. That was the purest and most simple form of the internship. And then, sometimes people just don't want to give up. I like to be associated with this particular brand, so I'm trying to figure out how I can intern at this brand. And then at some point you realize, wait a minute, I'm an adult with bills, and I've been interning here for X amount of time. I'm not getting a check. And then, what ended up happening is it became a huge national news story about interns that had outlived their expiration date that were doing actual jobs that should be payroll jobs. So long and winding road. So that's when a lot of companies started becoming more conservative and saying, you know what, let's pay interns. But what that did was it changed the opportunity for internship, because as companies felt that, hey, I just want to make sure that, I don't want people thinking they're being taken advantage of, so we're just going to protect ourselves as a company, which is what their job is, to protect themselves. So they set up an internship scenario, but it did cut down on the opportunity for some people, because free interns can be numerous, you can have numerous free interns, but now it's a part of the budget line. And, shoot, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. Like, internships might be the first thing to get put on pause because you're trying to keep your actual staff employed. So that's been a little bit of change. With that being said, there are still people and companies out here that offer unpaid internships, and the experience that you can get is invaluable. I see the Sienna Sauce folks dropped in here. They have 3-month internships available. There's no pay for it, but you are getting experience. So please don't be so pressed about the money that you're pressed about a few dollars when you could get a wealth of experience and make connections and contacts. And so, I really encourage people, if there are some free internships out there, and any solid internship program is going to be able to lay it out to you. So I won't argue that point. Sit here and say, what's the internship program? Like the Sienna Sauce and the Sauce Boss. It's a 3-month internship. They have a plan, they have a program. Here's what you'll be doing. Here's the beginning. Here's the middle. Here's the end. This is what it is. And so that, as a free intern, I've got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then we can evaluate at that time. So just want to encourage people, don't get so focused on getting the bag that you don't get the experience.
Listen, my mentee, Justin, and he also works on my Atlanta team. In college, I think he was the king of internships, and I was the queen, because we wanted so much knowledge. At the end of the day, we were not focused on if these people were going to cut us a check in that moment. You know what I mean? Like, I interned for someone my sophomore and junior year of college, and now I'm a partner in her company because she saw how much of an investment I made then, and how much valuable I was for the company. I want everybody to understand that sometimes it's not about the pay, okay? And that's a lifelong thing. There's some projects we've taken on where I was like, oh, Lord, the budget isn't what I would typically charge, but I see the big picture of it. And from that project, I was able to get 6 other projects. You know what I mean? Just from that. So it all made sense. If you go into things thinking, oh, I have to get paid. First off, let me talk to the younger generation. I just turned 31. When I was 17, 18, 19, we wanted to soak in the knowledge. We wanted to get the experience. We wanted to make sure that we were building relationships and contacts. And some of those internships put me in the right place at the right time. One of my internships, I'll never forget, I was working on the set of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, very first season. And to be very honest, we didn't think that show was going to go anywhere. Like, we was like, okay, because it's a million shows in Atlanta right now. We didn't think it was going to go anywhere. You know, I saw something in K. Michelle and, you know, heard of Stevie J. But other than that, we was like, okay, in 6 weeks, you know, our internship will be over and we're going to grind to the next opportunity. From that internship, last year, I was able to work on the account with Mona Scott Young for her publicity, for her brand. So you never, and I didn't get paid for that internship. You never know who's watching you in these internships. You never know what lessons you're going to learn and who you're going to meet. Like, never ever go into situations with the mindset of, I need a bag out of this. At the end of the day, most people are paid for the job that they do based on their experience. So if you're going into an internship with no experience, why should you be getting paid? Like, we're bringing something to you. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the culture and the mindset of that has to change a little bit. I do understand that some internships have stretched things out a little bit. But at the end of the day, if you're working for a Diddy or a Bad Boy and you're not setting yourself up to be in a good place afterwards, you're not doing your job.
I love that. I do want to touch on another area of expertise that you have, because I think that that's important, and that's your event coordination. A lot of times people, you know, you're trying to do something, right? But you got an album dropping or a project. I've had books drop or whatever the case may be, and you decide that I want, or, you know, even right now people are very in a social activist mindset as well. So it could be something very community based, but you want to do an event. Man, oh man, your execution of that event can say a lot about you, your brands. You know, it could make you, it could break you. There's a lot that goes into events that I think people don't really embrace and understand. And I do want to touch on that area of expertise as well, because sometimes people are like, I'm just going to do an album release, but you don't really think it through, beginning, middle to end. You come out, you're in debt over the event. The event didn't pop off the way you wanted to. The experience for the people that attended wasn't that great. And now you've done yourself a disservice and walked out owing because you didn't make any money. So talk a little bit about events, the importance to have proper event coordination.
You know what? Events, like you said, can make or break you, right? You have got to pay attention to details. It's one thing to have an album release party, but it's another thing to have it branded. It's another thing to have media there. It's another thing for it to look and feel good. One thing that we like to do at Lemon Limelight Media is create the experience. And, you know, from album release parties to tours to, unfortunately, funerals, you know, it's all about the details. When people step foot there inside of whatever event it is, they need to know and understand that, okay, I feel like I went somewhere. I feel like I got an experience. I understand the gist of it. I understand the vision of it. I've been to plenty of events, and I'm sure you have too, where you literally walk in and it's like, okay, what are we doing? What's going on? You know, and you leave there and it's like, Lord, I wasted an outfit for nothing, you know?
I wasted an outfit. I wasted the parking. I wasted my time. More importantly, time, because you can't get time back. I can maybe recycle that at an event in LA or something. But yeah. You wasted just a bulk of things. So that also takes details. I'm all about branding. I love everything about branding. If you're gonna have a brand, make sure it's branded. Obviously, my last name is Lemon.
9 times out of 10, when you see me, you're going to see something lemon related. I have my book here. I have a lemon shirt. You're probably going to see something branded. Same thing how I like to do my events. If you have an event and there's something essential about you that we want to get the messaging out, we're gonna rock that. And that goes back to knowing and understanding your clients. I ask certain questions to my clients or even potential clients so that we can know and have that understanding of what exactly are you trying to do. Because everybody and their mom has like we said, they have an album coming out, they have a listening party, they're having all of the same stuff. If you miss an event this week, you'll probably see something next week that's similar. But how is your event going to be different? Is it the look of it? Is it the feel of it? Who's going to be in the room? What's the audience looking like? Are these supporters or are these just Instagram followers? Because it's a difference. I remember Lil T said something a long time ago that I just love, and he should probably put in a t-shirt somewhere. He said, my Instagram followers are not my customers. And that's something that you have to understand. Some of them may be, but a lot of times people think, oh, you got 1 million followers, you should be sold out. Some of these people aren't paying a dime for anything. Anything. You have to know and understand your audience. You have to know and understand what you want out of the situation. And then again, put the right people in place. If event coordinating or event execution isn't your thing, don't utilize your event as the guinea pig. Because it only takes one time for something to flop and people to say, you know what, I can't support such and such because that event was a hot mess.
You brought up the Instagram, and I appreciate that, because that's another passion point for me. Is, you know, I call it cultivate your following, because I think that you could have 1 million followers, and to your point, are those people really rocking with you, or are they just, you know, casual drive-by followers? A person that has 50,000 followers has a lot of engagement and has built a relationship with those people, and the people that are now following you are really rocking with you. They're fans, they're not followers. That's a different sort of scenario. So I think there's truth on both sides with social media. There's a lot of falsehood out there and a lot of false ideas because you're being driven by how many likes you have, rather than understanding what's your engagement level and can you have you developed a relationship with this fan base so that you can actually move the crowd. What's up, Rob G, the general?
Hey, Rob.
So I do want to talk a little bit about social media, because I know that's been a source of frustration at times for both of us when misinformation gets out there. As a publicist, how do you fight against wrong information in the social space?
You know what, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on a personal level. You know, there's I'll use the word Slim uses, trolls. He loves that word, trolls. There's trolls out there that are looking to put information out there that doesn't make sense. As my job as a publicist is to try to clean it up. Can you always clean it up? No, because there's some sources that they're okay with putting the wrong information out, and no matter how much you send them a message of the right information or you ask them to take it down, they don't. Because for them, it's about the likes or the messiness or the comments that they gain from it, whether it hurts somebody or not. I've literally watched clients cry from some of the stuff that blogs have put out that was completely wrong. And again, back to the trust thing, the clients know that I didn't give the blogs any of this wrong information and that I'm trying to clean it up. But at the end of the day, with social media being that everybody on social media is an expert and went to instagramuniversity.com and received a PhD, people believe that what they see on the internet are facts. And that's not always the case. I think people have to know and understand that there's some people and some entities on social media, their direct messages to just create mess, create laughs, create hurtful content. And so I always encourage people, do your own research. You know what I mean? Do your research. I've had people to email me that were not media outlets and say, hey, if this is true about XYZ, and then I'm able to clear it up, I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate you taking the step to say, let me do my own research. It's a lot of false stuff out here. It's a lot. And a lot of celebrities go through a lot from these, trolls.
I'm glad Rob's in here because I don't remember the specific example, and he probably does because, you know, that's my brother from another mother. And, you know, he remembers the things that I don't. But I want to give a really good example of that. TMZ, right? So TMZ at one time had earned, and I will say earned sort of the trophy of being very correct and being first, because they had a series of things that happened in the media where they actually had the information, it was correct, they put it out first. So much so that, I mean, we used to, in my world, we used to, if CNN didn't say it, it didn't get said. But somewhere along the way, TMZ proved to be first and accurate over a consistent period of time. And so there was some trust developed there when TMZ said such and such passed away or this happened. So you could report and credit properly. However, and I don't remember the case that the first ouch for all of us, and I mean everybody in the media world, you know, where we trusted some information that was absolutely incorrect. And when you blow it, that first time, when you blow it, woo, you can't get it back. And so that was a powerful experience for a lot of people in the social space, because it got to be very confusing. Is the person here or not here? You know, and it was a lot of that sort of back and forth. So it was a good reminder, I would say, you know, of the necessity of verifying things through multiple reliable sources. And I think sometimes that we too often give the reliability to somebody who really doesn't deserve it. I do think it goes back to the why. Why are you here? What is your motivation? And if you see people that are putting things out there that continually are hurtful to people under the guise of getting likes and shares, then for me as a human being, I have to step back and question, like, okay, what are we really doing here? So, you know, it's very challenging in the social space, but reading and researching, I never take anything at face value anymore. Never did anyway, but, you know, I just would say in the social space, it's even more important not to take things at face value, because wrong information can get out there. And it's so easily for it to get repeated, because it's the repost, it's the retweet, it's the share. Right. Just so easy to hit a button. And then you may realize that you were wrong. How often did you put something out there that was erroneous and actually make a statement that you put something out there that was erroneous? Most people just delete it and act like I didn't do it, you know? So it would be very challenging.
And a lot of media outlets, they don't care if they go back and clean up the story. Recently, even, you know, just with George Floyd, obviously that was the biggest story in the country, and in the world really, for several weeks. And my job really for 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, I didn't get much sleep, because I'm literally trying to go through, clean up things, make sure the right information's out, all while traveling and doing 4 funerals. And if you know me personally, when I go to funerals, I don't view bodies, I don't do any of that. And here I am, literally, me and the funeral home director, we're making all of the arrangements. So that as a whole, and then having to deal with, I like to call them childish media, because at the end of the day, you know, we had situations where there were entities that had their drones flying in front of the funeral home just so they could get pictures of what they thought the body looked like. I mean, just a whole, literally, I could write a whole book about 2 weeks of handling press for George Floyd, because it really became disrespectful. And I think sometimes people forget that these people have families. These people have feelings. I understand news. I understand breaking the news first. I understand entertainment. But there's a lot of people that disrespect other people just so that they could get something first. And I even told a media outlet, one thing you won't do is disrespect George Floyd and his legacy, and you're not going to disrespect me. So if I have to involve the police or anything like that, I don't mind doing that, because it literally, some people cross the line. And some stories, like we had an incident where one of the media outlets leaked a photo of his body in the casket, and his family hadn't even seen him yet. Like, come on, y'all, like, let's not do that. You know, it makes no sense. Just so you could get likes and shares. Come on, let's have a little bit more class than that. But you know, it happens. They did it to Whitney Houston and you know, other entities as well. But if you're going to be in media, at least have some integrity to a certain degree. Like some things just don't belong on social media.
What's next for you? I mean, you're still growing your business, and it's been such a joy to see the success and the fact that you're to a point in your career where you can pick and choose projects that you work with, which I love. So what's next for you?
Well, there's several projects that we're working on at the moment. Some are local, some are national. Of course, the DJ Screw project. We're really excited about that. That's underway. Well, of course, with COVID, we're making some adjustments, but I think that's going to be a huge movement for the city, for the state, and just for the culture in general. Like the music scene, I always like to think that if people really knew how much other people took bits and pieces from Houston and our culture here, like it's crazy. We've influenced a lot in entertainment, whether it's movies or what have you. And so, I always get the question of people saying, oh, would you ever move back to Atlanta, or would you move back to LA, or would you move to LA? And my answer is this: like, I still have work to do at home. I feel as though God has given me resources to make things happen in Houston and provide other platforms for people here in Houston. And so my motto is, I live here, but I don't stay here. So meaning I'm going to keep living here. So I'm going to do some other things that can still, come back to the city, bring extra revenue to the city, bring extra opportunities, and of course, spotlight. So I'm sure once we get through this pandemic, I'll continue to do some stuff with the Oprah Winfrey Network, and just some other networks that we work with. And we have one of our clients has a movie coming out with Janelle Monáe and Antebellum in August, so we're excited about that. Yeah.
That's great. Listen, it's been amazing. You are amazing and such a light. And I'm just so fortunate that I get to work with you because you are the best. So I love that. So thank you so much for taking your time this morning to come on here and share some wisdom. We're just trying to help people learn more about the business, learn some of the other parts of the business. And so this information has been invaluable. So I did pin a comment here. If you're interested in learning more about LaTorria, you can follow her. I posted her Instagram down here, so you can check her out. And just thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate you and all that you're doing, and just bringing knowledge within the industry, and for those that are interested in the industry as well. Thank y'all for all the love, and thank you for everybody that tuned in.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be back Tuesday at 8 a.m. We're going to actually dig deeper into the social media picture. And I've got an expert in terms of growing brand and social media. We've got Zach Devon, who's going to come in from Melodic Soul. And we're going to dig deep in how to build your brand in the social space. So that should be a really good conversation on Tuesday. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. Everybody stay dry and stay safe. Thank you, LaTorria. Much love.
Thank you.